On today's show, the Dallas Mavericks get a win against the Golden State Warriors. Luka Doncic's best game of the season so far, right after his worst game of the season so far. What changed? How the Mavs get the win? We'll tell you on today's Locked On Mavs.
I'm Luka Doncic, and this is Locked On Mavericks podcast.
If you don't believe, you shouldn't be here.
You are Locked On Mavs.
Great, Rusty.
Your daily Dallas Mavericks podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Still true. Da-na-na-na. Let it ride. Da-na-na-na. And welcome. You are locked on to the Dallas Mavericks. My name is Nick Angstadt, media member and NBA channel manager of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks for being an everydayer, making Locked On Mavs your first listen today. Subscribe to our free Locked On Mavs newsletter, your one stop for the best news and analysis on the Dallas Mavericks and the NBA, straight to your inbox. Today's episode is brought to you by Robinhood Gold, that provides the privileges of a high net worth for any net worth. These generous benefits are now available for only $5 a month. The new gold standard is here with Robinhood Gold. Sign up at robinhood.com/gold. And joining me, as always, from the great Slightly Biased YouTube channel, the post-game prodigy, the three-point threat, the post-game prodigy. What you got for me, Slightly Biased?
The 3-point threat? I like that one. The one more thing, King, that's not me.
That's not you.
Threat,
That's a different guy.
That's about accurate.
That's a different guy. I went autopilot. I went autopilot like the Mavs defense did for half this game.
Yeah. I mean, there was some crazy shot making in this game, to be fair.
An insane, wild game. The Mavs get the win 143-133 in this game. Wild game for the Mavs. They had an almost perfect first quarter. They scored on the first 12 possessions, 11 possessions. I was trying to keep count of them. Insane one. We'll talk about Klay Thompson's return to the Bay Area for the second time. 29 points for Klay. What did he bring to the team? We'll talk about that. We'll talk about Kyrie. We'll talk about the bigs. We'll talk about PJ Washington, a bunch of stuff. The Mavs hit 21 threes themselves. We'll talk about how they got those going. But let's start here slightly. It just warms my heart that I literally went in to edit our graphic for the background of the show, the rundown on the side. And the second bullet, the last time we did a show, you and me, said Luka's worst game of the season. And all I had to do was go in there, delete worst, and add best. Because you can't keep the greats down. You can't keep them down. They'll come back. They'll bounce back. They'll show you that they've got more. And Luka was absolutely incredible tonight. 45 points, 11 boards, 13 assists, 3 steals, 2 blocks, only 3 turnovers, which was huge in this game. And massive shooting splits all across the board. Just shot the ball really well, efficient, and he controlled. This is what Luka's great at. He controls the game. He controls the tempo. He controls what happens. He controls when he has the ball, what happens, who goes where. There was a play that just completely stood out to me with Luka. And he was driving in the lane. It was the end of the first quarter, just a immaculate first quarter for the Mavs. Literally the last play of the first quarter. Luka drives into the lane and makes a fake and throws off Draymond Green. And Draymond leaves Grimes in the corner, and Luka hits Grimes, and Grimes hits a 3. Mavs scored 46 points in that first quarter. And that was just, to me, embodied what Luka did in this game, where he controlled almost every minute on offense.
Yeah, I mean, when he's going offensively like this and he's making shots, I mean, it's just this was like the warning shot to the league, right? We've since Luka came back from that wrist injury, he's looked like, the Luka Doncic that we've grown accustomed to, is the MVP level player that he is. Had a rough one against the Thunder. I thought that had more to do with how the Thunder defended him than anything else. But this was like the warning shot to the league. It's like, hey, I know that I had a rough start to this season, but I need you guys to know that I am back. I am back to playing the basketball that you all have grown accustomed to. 45, 11, and 13. In the first 3 quarters of this game, he was, is this right? 14 of 17 from the field in the first 3 quarters. And this is against Warriors defense that's top 5 in the league, and has done like a not bad job on Luka in the past. Like Wiggins has done a good job on Luka in past matchups. So yeah, I mean, this was an incredible game by him and just the Mavs offense as a whole. And the ball movement was impeccable tonight.
They were moving it around. 36 assists for the Mavs. Now they made 52 field goals, so it was a lot, but still 36 assists for the Mavs.
Is that a season high, I'm guessing?
Yeah, it has to. I think I saw Brad Townsend tweet that it was season high for them. Just an incredible offensive game. The Mavs had 144 offensive rating, which tracks because it had 100 possessions, and this one scored 143 points. So, but Luka, he bounced back, and you gotta love that, and you gotta love that now he's looking better to me. He's the pick and roll, him and Lively were controlling a lot in that first quarter. They set the tone there. Then the Warriors had to send doubles and traps, and they had to send some extra stuff to him, and Luka was able to move the ball around, and Luka had some cuts too. Yeah. Luka had some great cuts that I was impressed by. There was one in the fourth quarter, 8:24. Luka, I think it was coming from inbounds, but he cuts Gafford, hits him on the backdoor cut. Luka then kicks out to Klay, just moving the ball around. Then Klay attacks the closeout and throws to Gafford for that huge one-handed jam that he threw down. But it started with Luka's cut, and it started by all this other stuff. And we talked about Luka's off-ball movement with Isaac the other day, and that's something that the Mavericks have tried to do more, is to get Luka to play off the ball. He's got the lowest usage percentage that he's had since his rookie year right now, and they're trying to get him to do more stuff off the ball to save him for not only offense during a game, but for the playoffs and beyond and all that. And you see some of this stuff, and I thought we saw some of that in this game too.
Yeah, and I mean, those backdoor cuts, we see Kyrie do this all the time.
Yeah.
That was like whenever we talked about that Thunder game, Lou Dort blanketing him and, top locking him so he doesn't come off of pin downs, going into handoffs and stuff like that. That's when backdoor cuts are huge. We see Kyrie do it. It's a great option. And you do have, good passing bigs who can make that bounce pass to a cutter. And once Luka gets going downhill, I mean, he generates so much help at the rim that either the help's going to be late or not there, and he's going to get a layup or he's going to get fouled, or, he can kick out to a shooter and then the ball can move around and swing. I mean, tonight was some of the best ball movement I've seen this team have in, I don't even know how long. I mean, every pass the Mavs made was like they pass up a good look, 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 get a great look at the end of the possession. Even some of the possessions that didn't end in makes. And a lot of that had to do with Luka getting the pressure, putting the pressure on the defense. And we've seen too, since he's come back from injury, that was something we talked about earlier in the season. He wasn't seeing doubles. There was that crazy 10-game stretch where it was like he just wasn't getting doubled, wasn't getting trapped. And that has completely and totally changed since he's returned from that wrist injury and has just been balling out. Like, it just feels every game now he's just seeing so many bodies. And this is a Warriors team that does that, obviously. So a lot of it has to do with play style and personnel. But, yeah, just an incredible game from Luka, the type of game that we love.
This will end up almost being a wire-to-wire win for the Mavericks. The Warriors had a 1-point lead. I think it was like 3-2 or something like that at the very beginning of the game. But the Mavs almost wire-to-wire. And there was a couple turning points in this game too, though. At the end of the third quarter, the Mavs had like a 16-point lead, and then it dropped all the way to 3 in that fourth quarter at 11 minutes. It was a 3-point game, 116 to 113. And we've been talking about Luka, but I'll give Kyrie some credit right here for one of the turning points of the game. Kyrie gets a bucket and one. The next two plays after the Warriors cut it to 3. Yeah,
I mean, that was Kyrie, I think, 21 points in a game like this isn't like the craziest stat line or anything like that, but he did have some really, really big buckets. And that's who Kyrie's been since he came here. Like, sometimes he'll have statistical outputs that are absolutely crazy, but most of the times it's just, playing within the flow of the offense and then having a 2 to 3 minute burst where he's like, all right, I need to make some things happen. I'm going to make some things happen. So yeah, that and one was huge because it got very uncomfortable. The way the Warriors were shooting, I was like, dude, I don't know about the way this one's trending.
They're having one of the greatest shooting games in NBA history. Like, nothing, like, no lead is safe in a game like this. But the biggest thing that Dirk Nowitzki taught me watching his career and just in studying his career and covering him at the end is that not all points are created equal. Dirk could average 24, and you could have like Bradley Beal average 24 on the Wizards when they weren't playing for anything, and it's just completely different. Yeah. So Kyrie with 21, it's totally different than Andrew Wiggins scored 29. just felt like a different type of scoring because Kyrie's came when the Mavs absolutely needed them. It came with him getting his own shot. Those two plays specifically, right when the Warriors cut it to 3, were massive, and they completely. The momentum was completely taken out of the game because that was their wild challenge referee review stuff at the end of the third quarter took the air out of the game. It felt like Dallas's momentum had been totally sucked away. The Warriors kept hitting threes, and then it was a 7-point game at the end of the third quarter. Then they cut all the way down to 3, and then Kyrie was like, hey, I'm going to go get a bucket, and I'm going to calm us down, and I'm going to set us back on course and get us back on track. The Mavericks getting back on track in this game with Kyrie in that fourth quarter, and Luka completely back on track with the best game of the season. Big things that stood out to me. Coming up, Klay Thompson. Best game of the season for him. Got some revenge. We got some petty Klay, too. How did Klay get all his stuff going today? We'll talk about that and more coming up.
If you don't believe, you shouldn't be here.
Today's episode of Locked On Mavs brought to you by Robinhood Gold. With Robinhood Gold, you don't need a silver spoon to eat up the financial favors of the 1%. Robinhood Gold allows you to get the rates and perks usually reserved for the high society. Now, the resourceful individual with Robinhood Gold can earn a very liberal rate of 4.25% APY on uninvested cash and be rewarded with a handsome 3% retirement boost on IRA account contributions. Robinhood Gold provides the privileges of a high net worth for any net worth. These generous benefits are now available for only $5 a month. The new gold standard is here with Robinhood Gold. Sign up at robinhood.com/gold. Terms apply for specific product specific disclosures. Visit robinhood.com/gold. Investing involves risk. Rate may change. Gold membership is offered by Robinhood Gold LLC. Nailed it. Today's episode is also brought to you by BetterHelp. If you are doing an ad read and you realize, man, I need some help and I need to talk through some things. I need to work through some of these words. Or if you have actual real things in your life where you need to talk to a therapist. This year has been one of the hardest of my life, and I have been talking to a therapist all throughout it, and I could not have gone through this year without it. And I've used BetterHelp in the past. The things that I like about BetterHelp is it's convenient, it's flexible. I can pick whatever time of the week I want. It doesn't have to be a specific time. I could also do every other week. I could do once a month, or I could do whatever I want. And you can change your therapist at any time. No additional charge added. And that's great because sometimes you don't vibe with the first person you get matched up with, right? It's like a weird dating app thing with therapists. Find comfort this December with BetterHelp. That's BetterHelp.com/LockedOnNBA today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/LockedOnNBA.
If you don't believe, you shouldn't be here.
Thanks for hanging out with us on Locked On Mavs, being part of the show, part of the Raccoon Squad, our fans, listening every day. We appreciate each and every one of you for checking out the show. We have the daily newsletter you can get by looking at the link or the QR code. You can also subscribe to the Locked On Mavs Insiders. I text you, and you can text me. We can text together about the Mavs, and I'll send you notes during games. I sent notes all throughout this game, different stuff like that. I'll send injury reports. I'll send all the stuff that gets put out on Twitter where people are like, I want this alert. I'll also send you every single rumor I see. So Shams puts out a big piece, or whoever else, Tim McMahon has a big report or something like that. I'll send you that, send you my thoughts right away, text it straight to you. So subscribe to that by clicking the link in the description or texting the number as well. All right, Slightly. Mavs, big win. 143 to 133. Warriors have kind of been trending in the opposite direction since these two teams last played. Warriors are 5-8. Now they're 5-9 since they last played the Mavs in that game before, which is also a cup game. So they play a cup game, and then they both get eliminated for the cup. Now they play again. Klay Thompson was awesome in this game. 29 points, 29 minutes, 7 of 11 from 3, 4 assists for him too, couple of steals, a block, 5 rebounds. Missed the free throw at the end, and he was beating himself up about it because it would have given him 30. What did you see from Klay?
Well, I think he's officially a Maverick after missing a free throw like that. It's not. That's like your hazing ritual. That's how you get initiated. You got to have some free throw woes. But that was by far his best game. I mean, that does it. Yeah. I think that kind of goes without saying. Like, those are the games that are just the luxury, like the icing on top of the cake for this Mavericks team, where, hey, all of these things the Mavericks have to throw at you, just the floor spacing Klay provides for those lineups. But also, he's not Klay that he used to be. But there's also the chance that he's going to pop off in a game like this, go 7 of 11 from 3. And if that's the case, I mean, good luck stopping this Mavericks offense. Like, they're going to be next to impossible to stop. So we know, I mean, we kind of warned about this, that he's historically been a slow starter in seasons. And it's usually around this time of the year that he really ramps it up and really gets going. And he was 5 of 10 against the Thunder. Like, I thought he played a really good game against the Thunder. And, he comes back with another great game, 7-11 from 3 tonight. And he's got like his 2-man game with the bigs.
Yes.
He's really good. Like, it is legitimately good. I think a lot of that has to do playing in Golden State's system where you're running off of, screens and you're getting handoffs and all of this stuff. And you're always going to be looking for the roll guy. So I think he's just accustomed to that. But he's got a great feel, like when he's coming off those handoffs. I got two are going to fly out at me. I got Gafford. I got Lively rolling to the rim. And it just creates so much for the offense when he does that.
So many heads up plays, so many plays, where he does have to have some chemistry with the bigs. There's a play in the third quarter, about 7:50, where Klay runs a pick and roll with Lively, and then Klay hits a fadeaway jumper off of it because he gets a one-on-one. I think it was against Pujemski, and who the Warriors chose over Klay, which is there's kind of some wild subplots in all this. But that was his 16th point. The Mavs went up by 12 at that point. And that was right before Luka's dunk after the steal. We didn't mention Luka's dunk, but that
was does that count as a dunk? Did he get up there?
Officially, it counted as a dunk. I don't know if unofficially we counted as a dunk. He just kind of placed it in the basket.
No, we'll count it as a dunk.
Like if John Morant,
there's no pictures in the scorebook.
If John Morant did that, he would have counted it for his giving up dunks for Lent thing that he's doing.
He had that double clutch dunk a few days ago.
He ruined it. He ruined it with that. But
yeah,
Klay, man, he just did, I thought he did a lot in this game, and this is the kind of Klay I thought we would see like every fourth or fifth game for the Mavs. Hit, go nuts from three, hit a bunch of them, and make some extra stuff happen off the dribble in different ways. Not attacking and driving and doing all that, but attacking a closeout here and there. Playing with the bigs here and there, 4 assists. I mean, that's big for like a Mavs role player. How many times have we seen Mavs role players get like multiple assists like that in the past? And now we're seeing it with Klay, and Lively had 3 assists in this one. Dinwiddie had 4 assists. Like, all right, we're getting some passing going with some of these Mavs role players.
Yeah, and I mean, Omax even got a couple of assists. And those were all extra passes, swinging to another shooter. So, yeah, those are all just in the flow of the offense. That's the recipe now. That's in this league. We've seen it. That's how you win. You put pressure on the defense. You kick the ball out, swing, defense and rotation. And the Mavs have done a great job at that this year. And tonight was, I'd be interested in seeing like 36 assists. That's got to be up there. And just in terms of in the Luke era, because in years past, the Mavs are such an ISO heavy team that in years past, and obviously this is the way that they built their roster. But it would be Luka would get 10, 12, 13, 14 assists, and then there wouldn't be a lot of other assists on the rest of the roster. So I'd be interested in seeing like where this ranks in the Luka era.
As far as how many assists?
Yeah, I'm going to have to look it up right now.
Oh, the Mavs have had a bunch of games in their history. They've had 35 games with 37 or more. They've had 45 with 36 or more assists. So I'll check the Luka era real quick. But it was ball movement, and it started early. I thought that the Mavs were moving it around, but it started. I think it started with Luka getting the pick and roll going with Lively. And then then everybody had to collapse on that, and you had to send extra help. And once you have to send extra help on that, that's when everything falls into place after that. Then you get the defender rotating in, having to cover for somebody else because Draymond went to help on the Lively and Luka pick and roll in the middle. And then all of a sudden Klay is wide open. You're like, why is Klay open? Or Grimes is open in the corner or whatever. And when that stuff starts happening, that's when the Mavs defense the Mavs offense really, really comes together. It starts with Luka picking him apart. That's when, at the beginning of the season, when we were like, well, Luka usually in the first quarter picks a team apart, was leading the league in first quarter points last year, and then everything else falls into place after that. But he wasn't really doing that at the beginning of the season, so then the rest of it wasn't falling into place. We only saw a couple of games here and there, and now, we're back to it.
Yeah, and that was what we were trying. The message we were trying to relay was so much opens up when Luka scores the basketball like the best scorer in the league, which he was last year. So many things happen. And you saw it early in the season. Luka was struggling efficiency-wise, and teams were basically like, all right, we're just going to see. It just felt like teams were like, we're going to see how long the shooting slump's going to last. We know he's going to get out of it at some point, but there's no reason for us to defend him in a way that doesn't, align with. By the way, I just looked. It was only the 9th time in the Luka era they've had 35 or more assists in a game. So there you go. How about that? How about that for data?
Well, they had take that for data. They had 36, and I looked it up, and they have only had 36 3 other times.
Well, there you go. Take that for data.
Take that for data. The 3 times. One of them was the
data
Jazz.
Or data.
Well, Fizdale said, "Take that for data." That's what I always go back to from that
data
press conference.
I can't even that. It's like I can't even form my mouth like that.
Data. That's like pecan or pecan.
It just reminds me of dada, like a baby.
Maybe that's some kid's first word.
Probably. Yeah, you think he's saying Dada, but really he's just going to be an advanced stat nerd.
Just really good with spreadsheets from a young age.
He's just going to be a
blocks,
kitchen sink merchant.
Straight to those cells. Straight to formulas.
Straight to it.
Yeah, Klay was amazing in this game. 29 points. And I love to see the petty Klay come out. He was talking to some people. You could tell that it was going back and forth. You could tell that he was feeling a little extra about this. The Mavs and Warriors set a record for total three-pointers made in a game, 48. Steph and Klay still making history together.
That's true. You know what's crazy? I'm pretty sure that stat was broken 2 or 3 days ago. So
I'm sure now. Teams are taking tons of threes all the time.
Yeah, but this was just crazy. Like at halftime, it was the most threes on the broadcast. They said it was the most threes made by a team and a half, or at least in the first half, ever. I'm pretty sure that's what they said on a broadcast for the Warriors, and they were down by 7 points.
Well, how about they hit the most? How about they hit 27 threes? Teams that hit 27 threes are 11-0 before tonight. They lose by 10. They lose by 10.
That's just crazy. And we were talking before the stream started. We think back to that Trailblazers game. We couldn't remember the exact stat, but it was like the Trailblazers shot 56% from three on 31 attempts or something like that. It was only the third time in I think 69 games that a team had lost when they shot like that.
Nice.
It's like, what is it with the Mavericks and winning these games? They did it last year too on occasion.
Coming up, I'll tell you what it is about the Mavs that they keep winning these games and why it's good for the Mavericks they keep winning these crazy games like this, although the defense needs to step up. We'll talk about that and more coming up.
If you don't believe, you shouldn't be here.
Today's episode of Locked On Mavs brought to you by FanDuel. FanDuel Sportsbook has all kinds of props and odds, things that you can use to get in on the action. You got to get in while getting is good. Cowboy season almost over. Get ready to tackle NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. New customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets when you win. They have a ton of NBA props and things like that. The finals odds still looking the same for the Mavs. Celtics 195 to win the NBA championship. Thunder plus 380. They're the favorites by far. Knicks plus 1100. Mavs plus 1300. Cavs plus 1400. They drop back a little bit. So the Mavs have the 4th best odds to win the NBA finals this season. Regular season wins. I haven't checked this in a while. The Mavs are not on it, so that's why I haven't checked it. To make the playoffs, the Mavs are at minus 1250, which means like you'd have to bet $1,250 to win $100 for the Mavs to make the playoffs. You think the Mavs are making the playoffs? FanDuel really thinks that they are. Go check out FanDuel.com, see what is available for you, and bet that $5 to get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Never waste a hunch. Make every moment more with FanDuel, official sportsbook partner of the NFL.
Shut it down! Let's go home!
All right, Slightly, let's get into the rest of this game. You mentioned the Mavs keep winning these crazy games like this.
Yep.
This is what great teams do. They find ways to win, and the Mavs are turning into a great team. The team that you and I saw, the vision we saw all summer, how many times we talk about this is going to be a good team. This is the deepest team we've seen in the Luka era. This team can win in a bunch of ways. This team is finally covering up some of their weaknesses. They're finally getting more versatile with guys like PJ Washington and Najee and now Klay and Grimes and the bigs and Lively doing extra things and all this stuff. They're finding different ways to win because now they have more ways that they can win games. It's not just go out there and hit more threes than the other team. 2 years ago, all we would say is if they don't hit more threes than the other team, they lose.
Yeah. I mean, those were the numbers. Like the numbers were crazy. They had to shoot like 40% as a team or else they were going to lose the game. Now it's like
come a long way. Come a long way.
They have, I will say, like as an advanced stat nerd myself,
your first word was data.
That's right. After this game, they've dropped to 10th in defensive rating. I'm just saying.
Still a top 10 defense. Still
a top 10 defense. But it's interesting in their winning streak, the winning streak that they are on, 12-2 in their last 14 games. They are just league average defensively. But what's crazy is they're far and away the best offense in the league during that stretch.
Well, they've had some stinkers in there. The Thunder game was definitely a stinker. This one, technically, defensively, was a stinker for them.
Oh, yeah. Big stinker defensively for them.
The Portland game we talked about with all the threes, that was a stinker. That 130 defensive rating in that game. That was one of the worst of the season. So, but to make the point, they don't have to just have an elite defense and smother you defensively either. They can find different ways to win games. Yeah. And I think that's important for this team. Now, you wish their defense would play really good against some really good teams here at some point. We haven't really seen that show up, but they have found ways to win games. And I think it's because you have all the things we mentioned in the first 20 minutes of this show. Luka, controlling. Kyrie getting a bucket when you need it. Klay being the icing on the cake that just takes your offense to unstoppable levels. We talk about, some of the other guys off the bench. Gafford, I thought had a decent game. He had some bad turnovers, but 10 points, nine rebounds, 4 of them offensive. The Mavs had 10 offensive rebounds. And yeah, I thought that they got a bunch of different ways to win this game. They got a bunch of different contributors.
Yeah, I don't even think last year they probably don't even win a game like this after the trades when their identity was pretty much just like, we're going to get in these rock fights and this is how we're going to win basketball games. Because that we went all over all the numbers, like how their shooting declined dramatically after the trades that they made, how their offense just in general declined, but their defense was so much better. But now, just when you can put this much pressure on a team defensively, or I guess offensively, I should say, put this much pressure on a team's defense. It's just sustainable. Like that's how I felt when I was watching this game, where I was just like, it feels like the Warriors are going to cool off at some point. If they don't cool off, they make the most threes ever, then
that's it.
Whatever. Yeah, that's just, there's not much else you can do about that. But
tip your captain's hat to them. Your Klay Thompson captain's hat.
In some of this too, to give a pass to the Mavs defense, like that Lindy Waters, that pull up 3 in transition. I went in, I just
off of 1 foot. It felt like
I was like, all right, this is what we got going on. Draymond was like Draymond came in off the bench in the first quarter and hit 3 straight threes. And he's been good from 3 this year, but
it was 100% my fault. I put it into the ether. On Twitter, somebody said, I think it's Kofi, said, what is the player that you hate seeing hit threes against your team? Like, what is that player that you just, like, when they hit a 3, you're just like, that's the worst. I hate it. And I responded with the backpack emoji because Draymond Green looks like he has a backpack on when he hits threes. And then Draymond came in and hit 5 threes, which is insane because he's been shooting 26% the last 9 games.
Oh yeah, the Warriors as a team have not been like a great 3-point shooting team this season.
They got real hot at the beginning, and then they've really cooled off.
they've really come back down to earth in a major way recently. But
who is the player you're gonna say that you hate seeing hit threes against the Mavs?
There's David Roddy, but also Miles Turner too, because it's like they'll come in a game like Miles Turner is 1 for his last 18 from 3. It's like, well, here we go.
Miles Turner just beat him up in long twos. Those were wild 2 games.
That's just I hate Blagnan. But no, what were we talking about? Oh yeah, just how balanced this team is.
It's great. They even got contributions from Max.
Yeah.
13 minutes. He's playing in his role. He hit a 3. He should have had 3 assists, but one of them got removed because Lively was standing in place for too long under the basket, and they called a 3-second call. But a couple of boards, couple of assists, hit a 3 in 13 minutes. That's all you want from that spot.
Yeah, that's the Maxi Kleba conversation. Is like he comes in for 15 minutes and is like pretty impactful defensively, and can space the floor theoretically. So. Yeah, the fact that Omax now, 5 straight games where he's good, burned and has actually made an impact on the game in a positive way. I mean, he was a -10, but that was just. Well, I don't think plus minus can be a wonky stat.
Really not supposed to end your point with. Well, he was a minus.
I was like, he was really impactful. I look at it. Well, he was a -10, but
they got outscored by 10 points.
-11, but I thought he was good.
That's really funny. Trying to make this point about how Max has been impactful. Well, they got scored by 10 points while he was.
But hey, maybe it would have been 20 if he wasn't out there. You never know.
But in a game like this, 10 points was like 30 seconds. So it was
yeah, true.
He really just got subbed out before they went back on their run.
That's true.
Oh my gosh. I mean, is there you can say positive things about pretty much everybody in this game. Grimes hit 4 threes. That was big for him. 14 points off the bench. Dinwiddie had 4 assists. We mentioned him. Lively, him and Luka in the pick and roll. Lively had 7 rebounds, 3 assists, blocking a steal. Didn't get in foul trouble because no one got in foul trouble in this game because it was just they were just running up and down. Not a lot of defense.
No, true.
They were just flying around. PJ, 13 points, and some pettiness from PJ too. He hit the night. Always. He hit the night where you put your hands together like you're going to sleep on your 2 hands. That's what Steph's signature celebration is. Do you like it, or are you worried about it?
I think the night signature celebration is terrible. I think it was a fun one thing, and it worked at the time because wasn't it against the Kings? I'm trying to remember what specific series. It was in a playoff series, wasn't it? And it was
I think that was the first time. He hit it in the
liked it.
Olympics. That was probably the most like viewed moment, or the finals in 2022.
He put was it in the final? I couldn't remember if it was in the finals or the next year against the Kings, but it was in a playoff series. Close that game was like, oh, he put him to sleep like that.
Yeah.
He just ended their season. That's when I was like, oh, that was sick. I think it might have been the Celtics series actually when he really debuted.
I think
that.
it was that.
Like,
I think it was that finals.
You can't do it in regular season games, man. I'm gonna be the fun police there.
Disagree. You can do it whenever. It's his thing. He's a Hall of Famer.
You can do it.
He's a Hall of Famer. He's in the twilight of his career. It's like Dirk hitting the 3, the 3 celebration with the 3 fingers that now people are getting texts for, apparently.
The German 3?
Dort got a technical for doing this because he had his 2 fingers too close together. The German 3 is if you stick your thumb out and your first finger in your middle finger. And Dort had his first 2 fingers a little too close together. It looked like a gun. And they've been really calling the ones that look like a gun.
Well, did he go straight up with it, or did he do the pointed at you thing?
He went like 45-degree angle. And then he went straight up, and they called a tech on him in that cup game the other night.
Yeah, okay, that's a little soft.
It was very soft. It's like I can't stand Dort more than maybe anybody, and I was like, well, that was soft. You can't call that.
Yeah,
but yeah, everybody contributed, and you got a lot from everybody in this game. This is one where you see how Nico has built this roster, and that they can win in a bunch of different ways. And even if their transition defense is terrible, which it was. Even if their rotations are slow because the Warriors are just the balls flying around, they had 39 assists. The Mavs can find a way to win.
Yeah, that's all you need them to do. Just win games.
You gotta love it, and I love it.
I love it too.
Okay, so I mentioned that all time teams are 11-0 before, like when they hit 27 or more threes. So the Mavs broke that record. Before tonight, this season, teams that made 21 or more threes were 28-3. Teams that made 22 or more threes were 16-2. Teams that made 23 or more threes were 7-0. Now they're 7-1 because the Warriors lost hitting 27 threes.
I mean, losing. I just couldn't believe the halftime. Like they hit that many threes in the first half and were losing 18 threes and a half. And you're down 7. It wasn't like they were down 1. They were down 7. It's crazy.
There's a bunch of issues for them, obviously. Podziemski completely falling back has been really tough for them.
He's been awful.
Really bad. The starting lineup that they had tonight, where they started Curry, Kuminga, Wiggins, Looney, and Buddy Hield, they had only played like 18 possessions together. I checked cleaning the glass before. That was weird.
Really?
Put Draymond on the bench. Yeah, that was strange.
Yeah, that's the second time they've done that. I've seen in some Warriors fan circles, there's some conspiracies that there's a showcase going on, that they're letting Kuminga get as much run as possible, so teams across the league can see it.
20 points, 6 assists tonight.
I have opinions about him.
Go check out the Slightly Biased YouTube channel for more on that. Yeah. Guys, thanks for hanging out with us on Locked On Mavs. We've got a show every single day of the week. We'll have games all through Christmas as well. We'll have a game. We'll have the Mavs post game on Christmas Day. Slightly, I think you're going to be there in person. I'm
going to be at the game. That's right.
We'll have the in-person pod. And we've also got the link in the description to find different ways to follow the show, the QR code as well, to find ways to text us, to get the newsletter as well. Guys, thanks so much for listening to Locked On Mavs. Peace out. Boom.
Merry Christmas.
We'll be back.